Whew, it's hot as the Dickens. All right, not we live, but I got to do, y'all. I got to make sure that I share it on my pages so we can get all the people in. All right, we got that. Right, pose. All right, and we here. Peace, peace, peace. I am Philip Roundtree, and you are tuned into the May 25th edition of Rhetorically Speaking. It's a special day, Memorial Day. Shout out to all the troops and all that goodness. We appreciate y'all. Those overseas in war, those here at war. Again, we appreciate y'all. Keep your head up, and thank you. Yeah. So so I hate doing this salute to the troops thing. No shade to the troops, but you know how I feel about all that, man. Like the Panther said, no black man belongs in the white man army. But I digress. So shout out to the people who are watching on Facebook Live. Shout out to those who are watching on YouTube Live. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'm only 99,672 people away from monetizing. And listen again, my daughter tuition comes through on the 20th of every month. So anything y'all can show a brother love with, I appreciate it. I don't got the Dr. Umar video, right? Y'all know I ain't got that right now because it's Monday. But y'all know we giving y'all some good information. We're giving y'all some good information. So if you got 15, you got 20. That's all I know. So listen, so today on Rhetorically Speaking, this is the hashtag You Good Man men's discussion that takes place each and every Monday. For those, this is your first time maybe tuning in. I run a men's wellness group, and I have ran a men's wellness group at Uncle Bobby. Shout out to Mark Lamar Hill for probably about the last 19 or 20 months now. It's a place for those who identify as men to come in and have healthy conversation, right? Because despite the idea of this, and I know it's white supremacy, I know it's a patriarchy that we live in, but still men are survivors of patriarchy as well, right? So the brothers that come to the group, I want him to feel comfortable in saying, yo, this bitch get on my nerves. I want him to be comfortable in saying that. Now we're gonna push back on the use of the language, but we truly want him to feel comfortable in expressing himself and how he feels comfortable, right? Because again, we're talking about learning, we're talking about educating and enlightening brothers. And so I wanted to bring that to the airwaves. And so here you have it. We have Rhetorically Speaking with hashtag You Good Man Mondays. I'm gonna get right to it, man, because I know everybody looking forward to 112 and Jagged Edge, even though it's only like two members of 112 these days. It's funny. I actually saw them in concert last summer, and it was two 112 boys. Then they had two dancers out there, and they had the illusion like it was four. And it was like, but then I started realizing them boys ain't singing. They just out there just doing all the dances and stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. Of course, I think Jagged Edge is going to win, even though they have 10 songs that sound the same. I just think their body of work is better. So today, or hashtag You Good Man edition of Rhetorically Speaking, I wanted to have some brothers here who consider themselves creatives, right? So I'm gonna get right into the introductions. So the first brother we have is Mr. Kaise Lehman, who's an American writer, editor, and a professor of English and creative writing at the University of Mississippi. He is the author of 3 full-length books, a novel, Long Division, and 2 memoirs, How to Slowly Kill Yourself and Others in America, and Heavy. Shout out to Google, right? Because typically I do, and you'll see how I do Zane. Typically I just tell you what it is and who these people are, but I feel like, not to say these the elite Negroes, right? But these are some elite Negroes, and I just want to give them their credit. Next, we have Mr. Derek Harriel, director of the MFA program in creative writing, professor of English and Afro-American Studies at University of Mississippi. He is the author of Cotton, Ropes, and Stripper in Wonderland, which is a such an interesting title in itself, man. Next, we have Mr. Al Latif Farmer, who I like to call, he is the Jerry Krause of today's Rhetorically Speaking, because he put all this together, man. He went and got Mike. He went and got Scotty. Unless Derek, you want to be coach? You know what I mean? We could we could make
BJ. It's all good.
All right, cool. Shout out to Al Latif. He is a writer and educator at Mercy County Community College. And last but not least, we have our regular contributor, Mr. Zane Booker. Now, you know I call him our professional American Negro dancer. That's what I tell him every week. But I'm gonna give him a little bit more so he can feel special. So Mr. Booker is a principal dancer with Philadelphia. He's toured extensively in Europe and has appeared as a guest artist with major ballet companies around the world, including the New National Theater of Tokyo, the Le Ballet de Monte Carlo, the Opera of Monte Carlo, and Rhythmic. So shout out Mr. Zane Booker, who he was in the building. Now he's not here. Again, he's having phone difficulties, man. But shout out to him. As you can see, I'm sweating like nobody business out here, man. It's 75 degrees here in Philly, and this is wild, man. Give me a cool, calm 68, 67, and I'm good. Anything over 70, I'm hurting, man. But shout out to y'all brothers, man. I appreciate you joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for having us, man. Appreciate it.
Great to be here. Absolutely.
No doubt, no doubt. So as we await Zane, man, again, he wasn't he bragging. He was bragging like, "Yo, I'm good. I'm all right." And now he out the group. But I want to get right into it, man. I wanted to have a conversation on how creatives, people who identify as creatives, are coping during this quarantine and just coping in the crisis, just in crises in general. So first and foremost, how y'all feeling out there? And anybody could jump in. That's the thing with this. It ain't directed towards nobody in particular. You get in where you fit in, man. Because again, it's just like a circle. We just letting people in.
Well, I can jump it off because Kiese noticed, but you two brothers don't know. I'm feeling great, man, because about a week ago I finished a new book. So completed it. I had been promising myself for almost a year that I was going to finish in 2 months. So last spring, I was like, I'm going to knock it out by the end of last summer, right? That didn't happen, and then at some point in the fall, I'm like, I'm going to knock it out before Christmas. That didn't happen. So it's nice to get it done. It's kind of bittersweet. But what was interesting was the process of trying to complete it, with quarantine and with this pandemic and with homeschooling and with my wife working from home. It was a completely different experience, and they got to see like the insane parts of my process, like me pacing, me staring out the window, probably considering just putting my face on the window, licking the window, the strange things that we do when we're trying to create, Yeah. And so I'm excited. So the pandemic and lockdown and quarantine, thankfully, because I didn't know what to expect, thankfully did not prevent me, from getting the work done. And in fact, I think it allowed me more of an opportunity because I wasn't running the errands and chasing my kid, or toting my kid from home to school and picking him up from school and all that stuff. Yeah, I think it allowed me the opportunity to get work done. So, I'm still celebrating, man. As you can see, I'm.
Hey, listen, that's probably why I'm sweating too. Got this little mean over here. That's what's up. Well, how about you, Casey?
Man, I'm working on I got this book due that's by the end of June, fam, and that shit seemed like so long ago, like 3 weeks ago. Now it's like right there. So I ain't been talking about it and shit because it's just a new something for me. But anyway, it's due at the end of June, and I'm ready to get done with that so I can fall into this new novel I'm working on for the next few months. But yeah, man, like first month of quarantine, I broke my writing practice completely. I didn't write nothing. I ain't write like nothing, and I needed that, you know what I'm saying? I don't know why I needed that, but I needed that. And then last 2 months or month and a half, I've been going back to my reading and writing practice. But I'm not proud of my shit yet. So I just got to keep going till I can get there, Yeah. But I will tell you something. My nigga Derek's book is fucking sick, my nigga. Like, that's another reason I couldn't finish my I read this nigga shit, and then I was like, oh, fuck, my G, you got to go back to the drawing board, But that's the best. That's how it's supposed to be, I feel like,
Yeah, Yeah, yeah. So let me and so for those who don't know, because I'm sure it's a lot of people tuning in. Clearly, we got 26 eyes right now. So I know my mama watches. Shout out to mama. She'll give me that one view. But I see a lot of new people who are watching. About me, I am a therapist, right? So a therapist by trade, and so you might hear me talking in therapist lingo. And so my question with regards to why you didn't write that first month, was that something that was intentional, or did it just happen and then you reflected upon it and said, damn, yo, I needed that?
Damn, that is a therapist ass question. Because I mean, the honest answer is like I got caught out there. You know what I mean? Like I had left home to go make some money, and then when the pandemic hit, I was caught out there, so I couldn't come home. So I was kind of just thinking about a lot of things, but one, like the fact that like I was worried that my grandma was gonna die next week because we live in Mississippi and she's 91. And also I was like feeling guilty and shit because I know I shouldn't have got on that flight in the first place, but I was chasing that money. So anyway, like that kind of, I think like dealing with like just the complete unknown just made writing for a month seem for the first time in years just like not important, you know?
Yeah.
So looking back on it, I think some part of me was trying to take care of myself by not writing. But in the moment, every day I woke up, I felt guilty about that shit. And then I was just like, you got to get back to it at some point. So I started to get back to it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Word. What about you, Latif? How you been coping during this quarantine?
For me, I've been busy. Number one, with the day job, working in education, having to transition everything online in a hurry, and then service, about 200 students. That was kind of that was kind of a rush. Once that started to get settled, I actually found the rhythm that I've been looking for the last couple of years. Where I can be intentional, find balance, and then consistency with just churning out story after story, in a manner that I can be proud of. And then finding other ways to kind of be creative. We got the man cave on Thursdays. I was doing Otherwise Chaos at KSA the first week. Been doing this Legends talk with people from my hometown for different sports. And so just finding different ways, and all of that fuels how I'm able to sit down and write when it's time to write. And really just trying to grab those snatches of life to write about. Let me turn that off. So you can hear any background noise. But other than that, I think I've been doing pretty well. My wife, she's a therapist, so she's working around the clock. So trying to make sure that that we balance time for one another, and then at the same time working on the things that we set out to do as well. So it's kind of hard, everybody being in the house all day and keeping that same rhythm going.
Yeah, cool. How about you, our professional Negro dancer? And you missed it, man. I gave you this full shout out, and they could tell you, like, I was talking about what I talk about, man. I talked about your time with Enko, Les Ballet de Monte Carlo. You missed that entire introduction, man.
Okay. I appreciate that. Usually I'm just a Negro dancer.
No doubt.
But like Latif was saying, I have my day job and that keeps me busy, but I've actually felt very creative due to like this brother named John Dow. He's a 76-year-old artist, and we've been working on a project for like a year now. We worked on one project called Cotton, and it went up at the museum here. And since then, that's been like 2 years ago. He's an amazing artist. He was a adjunct professor at Temple. Like his work is all over the place, all different museums over the world. And I've been lucky enough to work with him for the last year. So he's creating this piece about Rittenhouse Square, which if you've ever been through Philadelphia, it's a common square, actually surrounded probably by some of the richest folks in Philadelphia. But the square is a common square. So all different folks go through this square. And he's been photographing. He said he has like over 10,000 photos of this place. And he's trying to create movement to go with it. So I was spending like at least one day a week down at his spot. He was photographing, and we were creating these he was creating these images, but I was using lights and stuff to help him create these images, and it was dope. And then just researching music, because I had a couple of commissions. I had a commission coming up in 21 that I'm getting ready for. I know that sounds like a long time. It was supposed to be 20, but it got moved to 21. So just like listening to music and, really like finding, I have like 3 pieces of music, which I keep on rotation. And I come in like on a Saturday, I usually come in the house and improv. And
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been feeling very creative. I mean, for me, you know what I mean? But I'm not actually putting stuff down yet, though. It's all research right now.
And we need you to get your I don't know what kind of Wi-Fi you got going on over there, Zane. We can hear you clearly. That boost, that boost mobile ain't working, baby. It ain't working.
Well, my savings account.
We can hear you
shut
though, so
down. Okay.
Yeah, it's all good. I think for me, it's like twofold where, I'm a full-time entrepreneur about to go on 2 years in that game. And so, I'm used to being home, but I think being forced to be home because of the quarantine has just, it's made, I live with depression and anxiety. It's impacted me to where, it's been days that's been like really difficult just for me to manage my emotions at times. And so, I count those as wins still. I think with the creative process, Al Latif asked me, like, yo, how the writing going? Yo, I ain't write all month, right? I'm supposed to be writing this memoir and, I write a couple chapters, then I fall off. But this last chapter that I wrote was like, I don't want to say it's taxing, but it required a lot of me. You know what I mean? And so talking about sexual identity as a young fella and what have you. And so I think when I finished that, like I exhaled. And then it was just more of that, all right, now I'm gonna get back to it. And then it just never happened. And the days start to accumulate. And so I start to look around because I think as a creative, it's like this societal community pressure. Like when you got downtime, you're supposed to be creating something, right? You got to leave out the quarantine, having produced 4 books and 3 musicals and to be able to tap dance and play the violin. And I'm just like, yo, I'm just trying to make it out. And so I guess that would be my next question. Like, do you feel, did you or do you feel compelled to produce during this time? I know you got deadlines, like he say, Derek, you wanted to get that book out, but do you still feel like that pressure to produce?
For me, it's no. First and foremost, it's just staying healthy. For me, just making sure that I'm not taking any risks or doing anything that's going to put myself, in a position where I can't even create down the line. But setting a goal to get some things done was something that my wife and I sat down and did at the very beginning. I said, this is what I want to do. And then she said, you got to write 20 stories a month. And I looked at her like she was crazy. So I'm trying to do 2 a week now.
That's so much, bro. Damn.
Yeah, like she's like, you got to get this book done. I'm like, nah, like I got work to do, got to cook dinner, got to do all those things.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel the pressure, but I don't have a deal and deadlines to meet like the 2 of them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And Dane is working on as well, working with someone and having to, meet their expectations. So I don't have that type of pressure on me.
Yeah. What about you, Derek? Did you I know you completed your book. Did you feel like soon as there was like stay at home order in place, and we know Mississippi a little further back, so it took y'all a little longer to get there. But did you feel like compelled to say, yo, I gotta get it out now?
No, I think whatever pressure that I placed on myself to complete the book was really self imposed, right? Like, I think it's 2-part. I think one, when the pandemic first hit, I was like, oh shit, this is amazing. I don't have to wake up at 6 and get my day started, get my son off to school and all that. So if I want to stay up late and write, I can do that. Or if I want to wake up at 6 while he's sleeping in now because he's doing homeschool, then I can write early in the morning. So I did have these expectations that I'm gonna for sure finish the book. but it wasn't necessarily about deadlines, or I didn't feel any sort of like, I guess I would say exterior pressure. It was interior. It was for me because I've just been wanting to finish this book for the last year. And what the quarantine did and the pandemic did is it provided me with the opportunity to be completely obsessive about it. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not going to campus several times a week. You know, my meetings are now Zoom meetings. My class went to online. You know what I'm saying? So navigating all those spaces that are required from us became a lot easier for me, and it gave me a lot more opportunity to actually write. If it wasn't for this book, though, I'd be more so probably like Key essay. I probably wouldn't be doing much writing, but it was because I was already involved with the project and I was already kind of obsessed with the project, that because teaching wasn't getting in the way, or like I said, you know, doing all my responsibilities that are connected with my child, that's not getting in the way. It gave me the opportunity to be obsessive. But I think you were talking about counseling. I think that's something that I was very, very aware of, you know, the mental health component of this, and making sure that my head is on straight first, you know, before anything else, and then taking care of the work. And, you know, I have the opportunity to work with some really, really brilliant writers who have like really, really great writing practices. Like, Key, you were talking about your writing practices. I've never had that great discipline when it came to writing. You know, I know some folks who write for 4 hours, the first 4 hours that they wake up every day. Like, that's what they do. They wake up, you know. In fact, I got a colleague who, you know, me directing the program, said I can't meet before noon, because 8 to noon, that's my writing time every day. I don't teach no classes before noon. I don't go to meetings before noon. You know what I'm saying? And I don't belong to the world, right? I don't exist until noon, you know. And obviously this is a person who's raised their children and did all that, right? This is
yeah. I was gonna say that sounds like a luxury to say, yo, I'm not. Yeah.
But so all that to say, I've been a little bit long-winded, but now that this shit is done, I'm literally like, I want to decompress. I want to stare out the window. I want to watch birds. You know what I'm saying? Because writing is a two-part kind of component to me. You know, a part of it is like the actual exercise of writing and writing. But another part is finding inspiration and finding whatever, like the cliche muse, right? But, you know, allowing the creative jug to fill back up. And for me, that's living. For me, that's experiencing music. For me, that's, I saw Philip on your one of your posts recently was talking about the gym. And like, for me, that's going to the gym, it's working out. You know what I'm saying? And so, and me and Kiese both are on leave now. So, you know, I'm on sabbatical starting next fall. So I don't go back to work January 2021. So I don't know. I might try to learn how to play the guitar now. Like, bro, once you learn prototype, it's over for them hoes. So I might try to learn the chorus, the prototype. Who knows?
Yeah. How about you, Kiese? Because Derek talked about that self-imposed pressure, man. Like, and I know personally that self-induced pressure, man. That's the most damning thing that exists for people, right? Because you get caught up in your head, and then we know that permeates throughout your body, and then your ability to produce. So how has that been for you?
I mean, for me, fam, it's just like, I don't even know if it's just pressure. It's just I'm just a very compulsive person. If I like something, you know, like when I was playing ball, like I was that nigga who practiced more than anybody, even though I wasn't as good as everybody. And so writing is like, there's a part of it that's duty and deadline and all that good shit. But for me, it had become, and actually it still is a compulsion. You know what I'm saying? And things falter because of that compulsion. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm living by my fucking self. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the decision that I've made. You know what I mean? And like, part of that has a lot to do with a lot of shit, but a lot of it is just like writerly compulsion sometimes can get in the way of, it's delicate though, because a lot of motherfuckers I know need to be writing more regularly, but I can't speak about that shit. Like me personally, like I needed to not write because I had written into shit like consistently for like decades now, you know, and that's not that kind of compulsion is not healthy. Even if you can produce, you know what I'm saying? You can, like, you know, I just think if your whole point is like look at production, okay, but if your whole point is like being a healthy nigga who can sleep at night, I just think you probably need to change your behavior. And I don't know how to change that shit yet. So
you know, that sound like that sound like The Last Dance. That sound like Jordan, man. Because I was sitting there reading the Jordan rules, and I'm like, yo. So I'm reading the Jordan rules, and I'm watching The Last Dance. First, that shit not adding up. You know what I mean? Because they giving the real in the book,
right?
So, but you look at it like, yo, Mike is so compulsive. Now you look at it and you like, damn, do Mike got any friends for real? You know what I mean? Do Mike have anybody that likes him?
That ain't on the payroll.
Exactly. Right. So I think that was an important point that you bring up, right? Because you can produce, but if you're not healthy, right? If the people if you have nobody around you, or if the relationships around you are suffering as a result, then we got to really take a look at it and see is it worth it? What about you, Zane? You've been on, and you've been on both sides, right? Because now you're in your apprentice bag. But then at one point you were leading, you were teaching, and what have you. So if you could compare and contrast, like the difference as far as the pressures that you feel.
Well, what I think is interesting is that I fight this. I don't know whether my I put pressure on myself for everything. So that's what you're saying about this apprentice bag. I'm in a whole new field now, but I take all the baggage from the dance world and being a choreographer and trying to be perfect and trying to reach this perfect thing. And I'm like Kiese, when he was saying I wasn't the best dancer, but I was the hardest working dancer in the room. I was always up. I was always on the floor. And I take that same thing into this new field, but I still put the same pressure. And what's interesting when you talk about compulsion is I'm wondering, I know my compulsion comes from feeling that I'm not good enough, or that that something's going to be snatched away from me because I didn't put enough work into it. It's in that realm. And so I find myself working on that. And you know, Phil, I've been working on this for like the last year to try to relieve myself of that pressure, even at work. And I think I've made, like, if progress is from 1 to 100, I think I've made like maybe I'm up to like 60. So I got another 40% to work on. But in terms of artistic stuff, I'm not in the studio, so I have more space, and it's somebody else's project. So I put the pressure on them, actually, because I play a couple of different roles. So with John is dope man. He like, if y'all know anything about dance, he was this cat who was in his 20s and 30s, wanted to study form. So to find form in artwork, he went to the dance world, and one of the masters he went to was Cunningham. So we have a lot in common. We have a similar language, and so I push him in his strategic process to find money and to do administrative stuff, but also in his concept of art, you know what I mean? And how he sees movement in his photographs and movement in his artwork. So yeah, if I'm comparing my compulsion and my procrastination, I think my compulsion keeps me nervous, and I'm trying to get away from that because it keeps me on fragile ground. But I think, and procrastination is a result of that. Like for some things, like for instance, just even creating phrases and movements. I have a key to a studio that I can go to, which I haven't used yet. You know what I mean? I stay in the crib and I do stuff, and that's procrastination. You know what I mean? So it does what Key was saying, where for me it'll stifle me, and I'll get distracted by all kinds of other projects.
Yeah, but it sounds like you've known this about yourself for a minute, though. I think when you talk about, you know, just being on us, that slippery ground, man, I think that's all Black folk, man. Like we just born slipping and sliding, you know what I mean? And it's until you get to a point where you become aware of it, right? You able to see like, yo, all right, how am I going to handle myself in these situations? How am I going to deal with these thoughts, feelings, and emotions when they pop up? I think that's what's critical. And like you said, you've been working on it. So with this awareness that you've had, do you feel like during this time you've learned a lot about yourself, Zane, or learned more about yourself? Or is this just like, oh yeah, I already knew this about who I am and how I show up?
I think I'm really starting to understand the relationship between the pressure, the feeling of inadequacy, and the internal sense of panic. You know what I mean? It's great in the world because it looks like a sense of urgency. You ain't never sitting on your ass. You always moving. You always getting things done. Me, I'm always moving, always getting things. But what it does for me inside is like it's like I'm always bubbling. Like I never really rest. You know, you're never at rest. So what I've learned is that to really find a a a place of peace, you know, and that thing I used to be able to find when I was moving for real, like in the studio with music and that thing, I can't find that because my place of peace was in movement. And now in this other space, I have to find a place of peace with stillness, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So I learned that I'm going to have to figure out a different way because I can't just, for lack of a better term, I can't bleed all my energy out in the studio dancing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I used to be able to bleed all my frustration and all that stuff, and I could leave it there and I would walk away with a sense of calm, even if it lasts an hour or another hour. But if I don't have that movement practice, which again, that's a procrastination thing, I have to be able to find it another way, which means I have to be able to center myself and understand that I need to breathe and drop my weight and tell myself that I'm good enough and I've done enough. You know what I mean? Even if I don't do another thing in life, I've done a lot.
That's real.
You know, and that's, you know what I mean? And I'm trying, that's what I'm working on, like letting all that shit settle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think I found that in this period because you realize what's important and what's not in relationship to you and the world.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. I think for a lot of people, man, you know, we find, especially when we find something that helps us cope, you know what I mean? Like it becomes a safety net and we're going to use it as much as we can. It's like I always talk about the construction worker who go to the job with a hammer, right? 98% of the shit you got to do might be with that hammer. But then when the jobs with the hammers are done, all right, now you got to break out a saw. Now you got to break out some other things. And it's like, whoa, it's uncomfortable, right? And so that's when you really got to lean into it and recognize, like, all right, you know what? It's uncomfortable, but this is what I need if I'm going to continue this process of growing. What about you, other brothers? What have you learned anything about yourself just during this period?
I'm starting to figure out that I might be a little better than I think I am.
Lovely.
Yes.
Right. And a lot of that comes from Kiese. Like I'll send him something like, man, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. Should I enter this into this contest? He be like, man, that shit dope, fam. Go ahead. I'm like, nah, man, it ain't that. He's like, nah, yes it is. So, you know, like just getting through that self-doubt, you know, and putting it out, just putting stuff out there and saying, hey, whatever it is gonna be, and not really being concerned with how people receive it. You know what I'm saying? Like they're saying, all right, these are stories that need to be told, so why not you tell them? You know, and that's where I'm trying to be consistently at. You know.
Yeah, yeah. What about you, Kiese?
Yeah, I mean, I discovered a lot about myself last few months, but I guess the thing that I'm most shocked that I discovered was how, in some ways, like my sadness and anxiety sort of dissipated when I realized everybody else was alone or in fucking, you know, isolation.
Yeah.
Because when I'm not, I mean, I have to work my real job and I have to travel a lot. So, you know, I'm working a lot. But when I'm not, like, I feel a little reclusive, and for a lot of this shit, I was like real sad because people were dying, my students were dying, family members were dying and getting sick. And then there was also a part of me that just felt like less sad, or like less maybe different or some shit, because I knew everybody was dealing with some form of like that isolation. I don't know. I'm trying to pop psychologize myself. But,
no, I get that.
I learned that, and you know what, fam, like I learned like I just learned that I mean, my grandmama is my heart, but I just realized how she stayed alive all these years, because I be up in there cooking, and my nigga, when I tell y'all I can't cook, like I just be in there just trying to cook shit. You know what I'm saying? Like my nigga, I be trying to cook like squash, but I don't have no squash. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just be, and that shit make me feel so good. So that's a discovery for me. Yeah.
No, I dig it. Go get some squash, man. It's all right.
That should be popping, boy.
Well, what about you, Derek?
I was going to say, Key, I can bring you some squash over. That's why I pulled up on you. That's
Yo,
the other day, man.
What a plate.
I think it was real interesting what Zane said about, you know, the idea of being still, you know, and I think what this is teaching me, because a lot of things happen at once for me personally, right? Like the pandemic hit. So that means sabbatical in some ways started earlier for me. And then the book was done. And then literally my world, like professionally, was like, nigga, you can sit still for the next 8 months and not move. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I mean, who knows what could happen, but
yeah,
at this point in time, you're still gonna get your paycheck from the university, right? All of your like professional responsibilities have been met, right? Or demands have been met, you know, so you on sabbatical, right? And so it was real interesting because I like to be still, you know, that's comfortable for me. I like to sit in, you know, my living room hours on end, you know, not doing anything, you know. I never felt like I had to, it never was comfortable for me. I'm not an errand guy, I'll say that. Like, oh shit, then I gotta go to Menards, you know what I'm saying? They got a sale over here. I gotta make this. Like, I only do what's necessary. You know what I'm saying? Like, go to the gym, that's necessary. You know, go to work, that's necessary. But outside of that, I don't like find, you know, things to keep me busy, you know. Yeah. And so what's interesting about this pandemic and then the timing for me professionally was that everything just stopped, you know, for me at once. And so I think, again, going back to what Zane said, it's even though I don't mind being still, I'm interested in seeing moving forward, how still can I be? And I think that is a challenge that I'm placing upon myself because, you know, I finished the book like a week ago. And then I was like, I told my wife, I was like, yo, I'm not working on shit until fall, nothing. Like I might, you know, we always write, you know, but I might play around with some ideas, but I'm not working on a project. I guess I'll say that. And then 3 days after that, I was like, I know what the next book gonna be. Like, I was like, no, I know what I'm gonna do. I gonna work on it. She's like, nah. When you start doing that, you're gonna start working on it. And so I want to push myself to be still. I want to push myself not to jump into another project. I thought what was also interesting what Zane said was that, you know, even if I don't do anything else, I've done enough and I am enough. You know what I'm saying? And so trying to sort of reckon and wrestle with that idea of like, okay, this is my, and not to be on no, you know, somebody, I saw a comment, someone said, talk your shit, not to be just on some like, you know, boast and shit, but, you know, coming from the community that I came from to have published 4 collections of poems, you know, to have written, you know, I just had a crime short story win an Edgar Award, you know, and, you know, we, like someone was saying earlier, like we feel like we're born slipping. I think, Phil, you said that we're born slipping and sliding.
Yeah.
And then we have, or for me, I can speak for myself, this kind of, I think I've always felt like I need to, even when motherfuckers giving me my props, I still need to prove it. You know what I'm saying? I need to prove that I'm worthy of the things that have been given to me, you know, and hence given, you know, not earned, right? Not because, you know, I'm good at what I do, but feeling like some sort of guilt, like, oh shit, they gave me that. Oh shit, they made me this, you know, and to like unpack that and reverse that way of thinking, you know what I'm saying? Like these are the things that I've earned, and even if I don't lift another muscle, you know what I'm saying? Real talk. The other day, somebody asked me when I told them I was done my 4th book. They said, "How many books did you see yourself writing in your career?" I said 1. When I was in undergrad, I said, "Damn, if I could just get 1 book of poems published, like my life would be incredible." You know, coming from where I came from, so I can walk around and tell the cats I grew up with, like, bro, look, this is what we got. We got a book out. It's in the world. You go to Barnes and Nobles. My mama can see it and pick it up, show people and brag. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then you get in that race. You know what I'm saying? You start seeing other motherfuckers. Oh, they got 5. They got 6. They just won a National Book Award. And you start changing. I guess I would say I started changing my belief systems and my values, and things started to become important to me that weren't necessarily even important to me when I first got in this shit. You know what I'm saying? So again, to answer your question directly, that's what I'm trying to move back. You know, we're talking about creating within the space. I'm trying to become less competitive with the ghosts. I don't even know who I'm competing against.
Yeah. No, I feel you, man. I think for me, it's been this idea. I mean, first with my partner been living with me now for like 7-8 months. She probably listening upstairs. But I realized, I can't be around it 24/7. I don't know how people do it. You know what I mean? Like real rap. Like I need my own thing. I got to do my own thing. And sometimes I'll go sit out in the car. I'll go drive by the water and I'll go sit because I need that time, because I know how I can get. I'll start snapping for no reason. And I've always known that about myself, but I think it's been heightened now, right? Just because, again, we've been spending a lot of time around each other. It's just like you walk past and you just grit on them, like, what you doing here, man? Like, oh yeah, you live here. All right, cool. You know, and I think the other thing is, I think for so long I pegged myself as this introvert, and reality is, I'm a selective introvert. I'm selectively introverted. You know, because I used to go to Uncle Bobby's every day, right? And be around my tribe. And I didn't realize how much I needed that and appreciated just communing with people, whether I'm working on something or if we just sitting there, you know, talking shit with Mark about his corny hip hop takes, you know what I mean? And just having that conversation. Because now when I'm home, it's like, it's just it's different, you know. It's different. We're not calling one another because for some reason, you know, men can only talk on the phone for about 3 to 5 minutes, you know what I mean, before we got to hang up. And so, you know, we're not having these face-to-face conversations. So, you know, I think for me, I learned that, I like being around people, and that's okay for me to say. I ain't got to be tough. I like smiling around people. I ain't got to grit all the time, and that's okay. So I think those are the 2 biggest things that I've learned about myself. So shifting gears just a little bit, just about, you know, this idea of creating just during crisis and how I know that's been a big part of you guys' lives, right? Like whatever your creative endeavor is, it's helped you during that time. So can you just speak on times when you might have first remember, like, whatever this thing is, whether it's dance, whether it's writing, whether it's ball, whatever, this is an outlet for me, and I really need to lean into it because it's doing me a whole lot of good. My bad. And you know, like I don't even do the heavy topics, man. Yes, I do.
I feel like not this particular trauma, but I feel like there have been times when I was really in the studio creating that. And actually, as I think about this and as I'm saying it, I realize that it's not necessarily a good thing, because I work through all trauma, which means I bury it. You know what I mean? And although it feeds into the work, which is a great thing, And I tell you a quick story of I was teaching at University of Arts when one of my students committed suicide, and we came in the next day, and you know, we had gone to some of the kids' house, and we had done like a group around a circle, a prayer circle, and we had done that stuff. But when we came back to class, my mind was to just do class, just work hard, just work through it. And I remember one of my students, she just stopped in the middle of class. She was like, I just can't. I was giving her a correction. I can't. And it dawned on me, everybody processes differently. And when I look back on that, I don't know if that was the best way to handle that moment. Always just working through things. You know, you work through trauma. And I know that that's not good. You know what I mean? It's great for the artwork because all the emotion gets channeled into whatever the creative process is. But I don't know if I don't know, I may be contradicting myself, but I know sometimes you just got to stop and recognize that you're in a traumatic state.
Yeah, but for so many of us, man, we've been in traumatic states for so long. That shit is just like a way of life. You know what I mean? And so,
yeah, but don't you think that certain things like death and like this COVID thing and some things you just can't almost be in denial about? Like, I think I was talking to my therapist the other day, and he was like, "Well, how do you think this has affected you?" I don't fucking know. Like, because I'm too busy working. Like, I don't know yet. Like, I'm working hard at work, and I'm coming home, and I'm working. I was doing an online course. You know what I mean? I'm working.
Yeah.
It's not good all the time. You know, it's not good.
Anybody else?
I think what's interesting about that is that I love that idea. Like, I don't fucking know, right? Because in some ways, you know, for me, writing is cathartic, you know, and it's its own therapy and it's therapeutic. And I'm inspired when I'm writing. You know what I'm saying? I'm at peace when I'm writing, even when there's internal conflict because I'm trying to figure, you know, some sort of tension in something that I'm working on out. But what's funny is, I don't know if this is directly related to your question, but I was thinking about the other day how, you know, when there are crises, how I'm never necessarily in the crises or the crisis, because often I'm working on a project that's in the past. I'm constantly living in the past. What I mean by that is, once I approach writing about my time in quarantine, that might be 10 years down the road, you know, once I process it, because I was just living in the past with this book that I've been working on, right? And so, like, when I'm thinking about, like, so my last book, Stripper in Wonderland, which you mentioned in the intros, right? That book is about things that happened to me in my 20s, but when I was in my 20s, I was writing a historical book, or my late 20s, I was writing a historical book on Jack Johnson, Mike Tyson, Joe Louis, and Joe Frazier, right? So I'm living these life events that happen in Stripper Wonderland or inspired Stripper Wonderland, but I write about them 10 years later. And I just think that's interesting, you know, the temporal nature of being creative during a crisis is not necessarily always dealing with the crisis or writing about the crisis or musing on the actual crisis. It might be on, like you said, we always in crisis. It might be on, you know, Black Lives Matter 5 years ago. You know what I'm saying? I'm still working through that shit during the pandemic, COVID. You know what I'm saying? But I'm still in the space of, you know, cops killing young Black men. You know, that's a lot of the conversation that's happening in the new shit that I'm writing. You know, or just completed. You know, so I just think that's interesting.
I think it's interesting that you say that, right? Because again, it's no right or wrong. Because some people might look at it as, oh, you're suppressing what took place, right? But it could be a sort of a compartmentalizing, right? I got to get this done. This is still there. I recognize that this is there. I recognize this is what's happening, and I'm not running from it or avoiding it. But you know what? I'm right here right now, right? And so once I'm in a place where I can address it, whether it's a week from now, a few months from now, then that's okay. As long as, and it's to anybody that's listening, as long as when these feelings come up, that you allow yourself to process it, man. Make a long story less long. My therapist, shout out to Dr. Val, she would say, I had this little stalking incident with the chick I was dating. It wasn't stalking, but I was just calling her like 20 times from like a different number each time, right? And so I didn't call it stalking, and so, but she corrected me, and
sounds like stalking.
And what happened was I couldn't deal with the feelings that I was experiencing in that moment in time. And so every time it would pop up that discomfort, I would go get my phone and go to the app and do it. And she like, Mr. Phil, you got to feel your way through it. She like, you got to let that shit be in your gut and just let it be. Just let it be. It got to go through you. You know what I mean? Because if you try to, because Zane, we talk about it. If you try to look at it, if you try to cognitively look at it and break it down, you're doing yourself a disservice because you're still avoiding it, right? You go into your comfort zone, which is your ability, go into your intellect instead of allowing yourself to feel it. And so, Derek, as long as you're not allowing yourself to push it to the side, like if those feelings come, they're going to come. And that's what I think I hear from you. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So what about you, Key?
Oh, I think Teef was about to jump in there.
Oh, go ahead, T.
Oh, I was. Okay. I was going to say, like, I don't ever remember a time when I didn't turn to words to process what I was feeling. As far back as I can remember, whether it was just jotting little notes down or creating stories in my head or reading books or whatever the case was, I don't ever remember not doing that to help myself understand what was happening around me. Whether it was death, it was a breakup, it was, a transition I was making in life or whatever. Like, I don't remember a time when I didn't use words to help me get through that. And it wasn't until, I guess, in 2020, about 15 years ago, when I actually started sharing that stuff publicly, some of the things publicly and processing it out loud. And I haven't done that as much lately because I think I've gotten better at dealing with certain emotions and finding new ways to channel them into the stories I like to tell. You got it, Kiesa.
I mean, I ain't really got much to add, fam. Y'all just, I mean, y'all said it all, bro.
Yeah. So, and again, man, this ain't one of those things where we got to do deep dives into stuff, man. We'll give answers. You know what I mean? It's what it is.
But you asking these questions that require deep dives.
That's true.
I be trying to turn it off, man. I do. I want to talk about Biden. You know what I mean? Matter of fact, let's jump to Biden, man, before we get ready to wrap up because 112 and JE coming on. I got some wine to drink.
Man, you got questions in the chat. No.
Yeah. No, we got questions in the chat I want to get to. But
I didn't even know there were questions in the chat.
I just want to get to I want to touch on Biden because that was the thing over the weekend. We try to keep up with some type of current event, man. What's up with y'all mans, man? Like
y'all man.
That's y'all, man. Ain't that y'all? That's y'all state. No, wait.
Nah. You next door.
You claim that region?
He right down the street.
Yeah.
Delaware. Yeah, he is from up here, man.
I mean, strip down.
Right down the street.
You strip all that shit down. It's just like, it's amazing how like Black support rarely, of course, Black support it's not symmetrical, right? Like the folks we support, be they Black, white, Latinx, whatever, like they don't ever do for the people what the people do for them. But the crazy shit to me is like these white motherfuckers are 75 and they don't know niggas, right? And so the niggas that they pay to know just must not talk to them the way you should be talking to them, because if that was a private conversation, my nigga, and like Joe Biden says, you ain't Black, he's going to get hurt with my eyes or somebody going to shake him, right? Like for him to think that Charlemagne will want to hear that and like niggas worldwide would be okay with it says everything about the way like the nation creates leaders and judgment, like judgment as a fucking concept. Do you know what I'm trying to say? I was like, and I got white folks that I'm cool with, but like these motherfuckers rarely know how to talk to us, B. And like it's just amazing that we don't smack the fuck out of them like on a much more regular basis. I just think that's what's crazy to me, and I understand why we don't. But
Yeah.
My wife can't keep bailing me out of jail.
Say it again.
Said my wife couldn't keep bailing me out of jail, you know, every time.
Yo, it was like, and that's the thing I went to. I was like, because I had just saw Simone Sanders chumping old girl on the channel, and I said, "Damn, wait, Simone, yeah, that's on you, babe." Like I look at you, you know what I mean? I can't even look at him because he is who he is, right? Like I look at it like, damn, sis, like he ain't getting it. It ain't clicking to him. Whatever you talking to him about, you trying to let him know. And I think that was the frustrating part. Now and now I'm thinking like, even in saying that, like, damn, I wonder how much bullshit he probably would say if she wasn't there. You know what I mean?
But the other thing is, my G, like, all this shit has just made me realize how ageist I am. Because, like, I don't think you can teach a 75-year-old motherfucker much. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's one of the reasons I don't think these old motherfuckers should be president. Because lots of old motherfuckers I know, like, cease to learn and discover and develop. That's ageist, and that's what I wholeheartedly believe. Yeah. So, like, Simone, we see her chasing a check, you know? And, like, shit, we done all chase checks in our lives. But, like, if your job is to teach this white racist motherfucker to be less racist, you gonna fail. He's 75, and he's still the same motherfucker he been, and he done hired 20 of you to try to do this job, right? So, like, but then at the end of the day, we gonna do what we do, which is go out there and hopefully take this shit from Trump. But then what we gonna do?
Yeah. Well, what else? What y'all think? What y'all thoughts on it?
He done wrapped it up for me.
Yeah, I think you echoed.
My G nailed it.
He echoed the sentiments of a lot of people, man. All right, let's get to these questions real quick. Hopefully try to let's see.
Are these therapists asking questions though?
No. We got quote unquote regular folk. Yeah, I mean, this the regular Negroes, like the ones who didn't watch who was it, Beanie Man and what's the other boy name? You know what I mean? I'm a regular Negro. I ain't watched that.
I ain't watched it either, bro. I ain't gonna lie.
So we got Jamal. He says, you all mentioned finding rhythm. Any tools to sustain the rhythm when the quarantine shifts the other way?
That's what I want to know.
I think we all taking it day by day, man. I think we got to lean into the coping skills that we have, the healthy coping skills that we have that have gotten us to this day. You know what I mean? Because even in the midst of the quarantine, we've survived life, right? And so whatever we can find and pull from to help us during these times, I say, hey, lean into it, man, and just hope that it's not in excess. So like this wine, like I know for me, like drinking, I got to be mindful, man, because I used to drink wine in liquor in excess. You know, I wasn't an alcoholic, but I had a usage disorder, you know, and I had to be mindful of it. So everybody else could be like, oh, post the wine means. I'm like, Phil, you good for about 2-3 glasses. You know, and that's me. I'm gonna put it out there because I want y'all to think I'm an alcoholic. I just don't see the point of having one drink. If you're gonna have one, you might as well get drunk. But again,
1 or 3.
I went to
1 or 3. Can't do 2. Gotta have 1 or 3.
I went to a PWI, man. So that's just how we gave it up out there. So I hope that helped you, good brother. Let me see.
Well, we're talking about the rhythm. I know for me, I have to work on the balance and saying no, right? Just slowing life down enough to prioritize what my goals are, right? And, you know, Phil, you and I talked earlier about putting stuff out there and then keeping each other accountable.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that, you know, I definitely, you know, need to have in my life going forward if I'm going to pursue this as a goal for myself.
Yeah. I don't want to put the brother out there because I wanted to have him on. He's another offer, man. Dope, super dope poet. I had him on one of my shows. And matter of fact, he posted on Facebook, so it's for public knowledge. So good brother Kerwin Sutherland, go get his book Jump Ship. It's a dope book out there, dope. And he was like, yo, he just felt overwhelmed, and I'm like, dog, don't wait until this is over to use your vacation times, your personal days, your sick days. Even though you working at home from Zoom, I watch my lady every day, and I'm like, yo, you work harder now than you worked at your job. So use those days up, man, because if something happened to you, you will be replaced. Point blank, you will be replaced. And so if you find yourself start getting off rhythm, do some inventory, start looking around about things in your life, because the stressors and the pressures are beginning to come from somewhere outside of self too. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just really being mindful of that. Go ahead, Zane.
No, I was just going to say rhythm too is, you just said knowing yourself. It's knowing yourself, but creatively, I feel like you got to give in to creative periods. I mean, there's a balance, right? Key was talking about compulsion. I'm talking about, you might have a plan for your day, but if you feel like, if I get caught up in a song, I might take 15 minutes and just improv. You know what I mean? And dance and record that or something. So I do try to do that more often. I try to not be wedded to my plan for that day. If I have an inspiration, then I feel like I'm in rhythm. I'm in rhythm with my creative self. I'm in rhythm with my creative self.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes that rhythm is not doing anything at all,
right? Right, most definitely. But yeah. It's different though when you have an inspired moment, even if it's a phrase in your head as a writer or something, and you say, "No, but I got to do this right now." You know what I mean? I got to paint this box. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or I gotta, you know what I mean? I got to do this, instead of saying, "Damn, all right, this is an inspired moment. Let me just investigate this. Let me feel this. Let me absorb this. Let me do this." And then you still might have another. It might only be 30 minutes, and that's what I find. You know,
it's funny you say that. I was just watching one of my favorite cartoons of all time, Recess. Like I was watching on YouTube, and the young boy Mikey Bloomberg, you know, he poet extraordinaire. Menlo, damn, I'm giving all the names. Menlo, who the school secretary, he like, yo, you got to organize yourself, right? You got to organize your day and all of that. And so he did it, like, yo, tuck in your shirt. You got to be organized. And he got organized, and they got time for him to do his poem, and he couldn't do it, right? And it was just like, yo, there's organization in being disorganized at times. You know what I mean? And you gotta allow that to be, right? You ain't gotta be on schedule all the time, right? Structure is good, but also non-structure is good as well. And so again, it's fun, is gaining more insight into you. Get into this question. I said somebody's name. I said Kyra. How have your aspirations been barriers to writing even now?
Yeah.
I'm a regular writer. You know, I'm a regular writer.
Turn this over to the professionals.
Yeah.
How y'all reading that question? Key, how you hearing that question?
That's a good question.
I mean, I guess I guess I'm hearing Kyra ask how, the things that we wish for ourselves as writers, and maybe even beyond writers, like have those things served as barriers sometime to the writing process? And I guess I could say, yeah, I don't know, bro. Like most black boys my age who grew up in Mississippi, like hip hop was such a big part of our lives in basketball. And so like we all wanted to fucking have one good ass album and we all wanted to make the league. But nope, like the niggas who ended up making the league always were niggas who were talking about, I wanna have a 7 to 8 year career. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm saying that to say like my aspirations are still like, I want to create the best album of the year. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I don't know about being the best writer and all that shit. But at the end of the day, I know I want to have a novel, a long poem, a book of essays, a memoir, and a young adult book that are like top 10 in my eyes. And so in that way, my aspirations again feed my compulsion, which ultimately sometimes isn't a healthy thing. So in that way, I guess the answer would be that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that made complete sense, man. You think you're going to have, I always wanted to be an Oprah book club, you know what I mean? Now, not so much, but you know what I mean? It was just like, you sit and I'm looking at it like, no, this ain't the Oprah standards. Like I did that on one joint, like one chapter, like, nah, this ain't, it caused me to go back and go deeper, but it's just like, nah, you don't got to put that pressure on yourself, man. You know, as long as you're putting out the best you, that's what it is. And your mama going to buy it as long as you get it out before the time comes, So
my aspirations are different. I just want to tell these black ass stories.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm not sure if there's an audience out there to read these black ass stories, but not just to read them, but to purchase them. Right.
Right.
So it's like I struggle with that. You know, I said earlier the self doubt. So I struggle with, do anybody even want to hear what I have to write? People I have to write. So if that's the same, and her name is Kira, she put that.
Yeah, she made sure she let us know. You know what I mean? Kira.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know, and that's the way I get into my I get in my own way. It's, you know, just saying, this is what I want to do, and I'm not sure if I can do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Y'all are making good points. I think I'll just add too that because if we're thinking about aspirations holistically, I think for me, the barriers have come by way of, and this is the cheap word, but chasing perfection outside of writing. And I think that's been something that's gotten in the way of my fucking writing. Like, I'm going to be the greatest dad of all time. I'm going to be the greatest fucking husband ever lived. The best in-law, the best son, the best brother.
Right.
You know? And, you know, chasing all of that, you know, when, you know, like Jane was mentioning, you know, catching a vibe. Instead of catching a vibe, I'm going to go to my coworker's dinner party. Although none of the people I fuck with might not show up, but I'm sure going to show my face. And then the tokenism, when, you know, white people in power see certain things in you that you don't necessarily see for yourself. And like T, you were talking about saying no, learning how to say no to that. That's been a barrier because they're like, hey, guess what? What if you direct the fucking program, the writing program at this? And this was like, yes, you know what I'm saying? I'll do it. and again, and that's the part of chasing perfection, right? Like, and I'm not only gonna write books, but I'm gonna be the first black MFA director at the University of Mississippi. Guess what? You can fucking be chair now. I'm like, we haven't had a black chair at the liberal arts college at all in the history of this university. I won't write another poem. You know what I'm saying? Stop. And again, going back to kind of what I was commenting on before, and that I was alluding to that Zane's comment, just knowing that even if I don't do another administrative job, if I don't write another book, I've done enough. You know what I'm saying? And if I just want to write a bunch of shit from here on out and not even publish it, just share it with y'all. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what's been a lot of the barriers for me, just chasing perfection outside the writing. There's the perfection that we face within the writing, but then there's also life responsibilities that we're facing as well. So
yeah, because
how do you balance like that perfection? Like, when do you take a hit? Like, am I really going to stop trying to be the best husband I can be just because I want to write words? You know what I mean? Like,
but I think what happens is, like, I just finished Heavy, and you realize where that shit comes from, right? You realize that we're programmed by our parents to not accept anything less than, right? Because we got to do 150%. And I think that's a huge part of it. Like, I think the way we're programmed as black men, as black people, the pressure not only comes from us internally, but we grow up like that. Even if you're coming from poor and trying to work your way up to class, or just trying to get into college, or moving through any kind of professional thing, or even just my grandmother, when she was coming from south to north and a factory job, she couldn't understand that. It's like, why don't you get a good factory job? You have benefits and yada, yada, yada. That was still this kind of thing. But the bar was so high for whatever they were trying to get to. So we grow up in this atmosphere. Fuck the white supremacy part. That, well, maybe you can't fuck it, but the family, how they dealt with that. You know what I mean? The family, the people who are pushing you, how they dealt with that is to demand to put their foot on your neck all the time. Right. So we grow up in this sort of pressure cooker of achievement.
Yeah, that reminds me of
aspiration. So you gotta undo aspiration. Like, how do you do that mentally?
Right.
Like, how do you not have aspiration as a black person trying to survive in a upward sort of way, the way our ancestors sort of understand growth and achievement.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, you know, when we talk about the imagery and just the information, how it's pushed, man. Like everything is for the culture, right? Like everything is for the culture, and for the culture is heavy as shit. That's a lot of pressure to put on anybody. You know what I mean? Like I'm doing it for the culture. Like, no, I'm just trying to do it for me right now. You know what I mean? If the byproduct is for everybody else and everybody else to benefit from it, then yeah, I don't mind being a trailblazer. But it is that thing, like heavy as the head that wear the crown, either this week or next week. On Rhetorically Speaking, I'm gonna let the cat out the bag. We're gonna be watching the James Baldwin Nikki Giovanni conversation. You know what I mean? And then we're gonna have Stephanie Tisdale, she actually about to go into PhD program in educational studies, and a couple other people. And we just gonna sit and talk about it, man. Because what resonated with me so much when I watched that. And she was like, I get the worst of you when you get home. He's like, because I'm smiling these motherfuckers' faces all day. Right. And so I come here and it's just like the weight of the world. Like I can't, how many times can I perform in the day? You know what I mean? And it was like, yo, I got to pay the rent. Right. And she's like, I could help you pay the rent. He's just like, no, I don't want you out there prostituting yourself and doing what you got to do to try to help me. Because again, all these ideas that we have of masculinity, especially as Black men, and what we have to do. And then we add the hip hop element. People know I'm critical of hip hop, man, and just the pressure that is put on me to succeed and to achieve. It's just like, yo, I think when we wake up in the midst of this pandemic and we exhale, like shit, that's the win. If you go back to sleep, you know what I mean? Like that's the win right there, because it's like as soon as you wake up, all that pressure. And I don't think enough attention is paid to that day in and day out of the pressures on Black men in general, man. I understand the women's movement. I'm fully behind it, but yo, I'm here too. You know what I mean?
I have a quick question. It might be too much time. You know how I do. What do you think about Baldwin's response to Nikki in that moment?
Which one? Which part?
The one that you're talking about. Exactly when she was saying that, and he was responding, basically explaining the pressure on men.
No, I mean, I understood both aspects of it. You know what I mean? It's because it's like, yo, like we here giving you life too. You know what I mean? And probably if we weren't here, right, even though you might be giving us your ass to kiss and we getting the worst of you, we're still, the driving force in helping you and push you to get up every day. You know what I mean? And so it's just being mindful of that we exist too. And yo, even if you got to fake it at a period of time, for a period of time, like we deserve at least that if you love me the way that you say you do. But then again, conversely, I understood it exactly what he was saying, man. And it's so complex when we get into the dynamics of just relationships with others, right? Because the relationship with ourselves is hard as shit anyway. And then we start adding all these other people to it, man. The shit is just it get wonky. You know what I'm saying? So and I've been rapping for. Oh, well, we know they Black folk in Atlanta, so they're gonna be a little late probably because one of them got to be messed up.
You still talking about 112 Jagged Edge?
Yeah.
See, I'm good. I don't know, Derek, you got to run out. Or?
Yeah. Plus, I promised partner time. You know what I mean? That's gotta keep my word. Chase of perfection, man.
There's only so many times I can turn my kitchen into a nightclub. So if Jagged Edge want to help tonight, change the nightclub vibe, thank you, brothers.
Yeah, I think the last one is just this idea of, damn, all right, what would you be if you wasn't an artist? I think we all would say we all sell records. I think for the most part, we'd be like a rap group.
I'll be wrapping up my NBA career.
That's what, right? I wish we could have time to talk about The Last Dance, man, because I hate Michael Jordan with every inch of my being at this stage of the game.
I told Key if they fire all the professors, if they fire us, I'm gonna train to be the middleweight champ of the world. So,
right. You know what's ill is like that. Like what you see in that Jordan doc is like, I think Nikki Giovanni is trying to give Baldwin a warning in that conversation, and I'm not trying to put everything on Jordan as like he's not like the ultimate patriarch or anything, but like son, like if you don't think and talk about the way masculinity fucked up Michael Jordan, you ain't really having no conversation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so like I think the illest part of that Giovanni like conversation is when she just is like begging him to treat her the way they treat fucking white men. Like beg, like that's how dire that shit is, right? And so anyway, I just think ultimately you bring up The Last Dance. I'm saying one of the takeaways is that, you know, I think we needed feminist studies like in the 1920s. You know what I'm saying? Like, and if we but the question is, would we still revere like absolute dominance? Not just white motherfuckers, you know, doing the shit with Trump, but niggas do the shit with Jordan. Like we all know he a piece of shit, and then motherfuckers all want to rock his shoes, right? Like you can't be like that's not an investment in like hyper masculinity in some way, you know?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Damn.
You lost the question.
Yeah, people with the comments. No, it was more so just about the idea of writing through trauma and crisis. That was really the gist of the question. But I feel like we talked a lot about that. So not to disregard your question, you might be coming on. And me being the person in control of the questions now I feel bad for the moderators who next I'll be coming at. You know what I mean? Like, nah, we only doing like 5 questions. Yeah, but that's pretty much it, man. What any parting thoughts for anybody?
I thank you guys, you know, for taking the time to share with me just how you navigate through all of this. You know what I'm saying? Each one of you, like, it really gave me something to work with the minute we log off. You know what I'm saying? So I thank y'all for that.
Yeah, real quick, because my partner put the question up. She asked us somebody else's question, so now I'm forced to ask it. Tierra asked, "How do you not make your creativity feel like work?" Now let's just get one person to just answer that question. I'm sorry, Tierra. I love you.
I mean, the real answer to that shit is like, sadly, you just have to do it every day. I'm sorry, like if you do shit every day, it doesn't appear to be work anymore because you know what I'm saying that shit because right, it's work, fam. Like it's like how do you make the work pleasure? I think is the question. But like that writing shit is mad hard work, and it's just gonna be hard. But like it can be pleasurable, but it ain't never gonna be like not hard. I don't think.
Yeah. No, and what I'll say to that is, go watch Reggie Gaines' I Don't Feel Like Writing. It was Def Jam poetry joint, probably from like 15 years ago now. And he talked about just what writing is. And sometimes I got to remind myself and just go back. And, you know, ultimately gets to, you know, if you just writing when you feel like writing, you just a rapist that writes. You know what I mean? Like you really got to do that shit day in and day out, that hour, that 2 hours, right? Because it's the idea of, I might learn something about myself that I otherwise might not have never known. And so, and that's what I say that I not getting to the creativity part of it, just do, you know what I mean? Just do. I think that's the main thing. Listen, brothers, I appreciate you all, man. Jerry Krause, you know, I appreciate you. Jordan, I'll let y'all argue it out. Zane, you Rodman, you know what I mean? Or you want to be Judd Bushler. It don't matter. But yeah, real rap. I appreciate you all coming on to this show, man. This is just a platform that I decided to do and say, fuck it. You know, it's not, I don't subscribe to any particular religion, but I could do all things through Christ. I could do all things through Phil. And that's what this is, man. What I'm putting out here is just a labor of love because first I like getting my shit off, number one. And number two, I just like engaging with people. So I appreciate you all for coming on, man. Again, Teef, Keys, Derek,
thank you.
I appreciate you, brothers. Everybody else, make sure you subscribe. I do this thing Monday through Thursday. You know what I mean? So it might not be 60 tomorrow, but I want to see at least 25 of y'all on tomorrow at 7 p.m. Quantify LLC on Facebook, on YouTube. Again, I ain't got the Umar video, but make sure you contribute. Your money is going to good use. And listen, I just appreciate you all, man. Until next time, peace.
Hey. Peace. Honored, y'all. Honored.
Appreciate you, Steve.
Thank y'all.
No, y'all really helped me out a lot. I don't know if y'all really know that. Just enjoy it.
I thought you about to get choked up there, man. You know what I mean?
Sentence or nothing, it's just over.
Yeah.
Let me go put on my dance and shit.
Go.
Around right quick.
I got my good sweatpants on, man. You know what I mean?
Already here. We already at the show.
Exactly.
Much love, fam.
All right,
All right.